Hey guys, welcome back to Joko Yo, and we're going to talk today about another pretty illustrious citizen of Johnston County, even though he didn't stay. He's not unusual in that respect. See, we have in North Carolina, as I'm sure you well know, several people that went on to make pretty big differences in the world. That even though they were from like North Carolina, they didn't really stick around North Carolina. I guess they pretty much saw the writing on the wall. I mean, for example, Andrew Jackson. Whether he's from North Carolina or South Carolina is pretty much inconsequential at this point. But in either case, he didn't make his career in either one of them. He decided to move to Tennessee, where it's opportunity knocks. I get it. Andrew Johnston, same situation. And now he didn't end that well, of course, with the impeachment and everything. But moving out to Tennessee, opportunity knocks. There was no, obviously, opportunity in North Carolina, so Tennessee they go. James K. Polk. Now, definitely from North Carolina. We even have a Polk County named for the family. James K. Polk, after Andrew Jackson, President of the United States, really was one of the reasons why, take it back, not one of the reasons, the reason why we have California and, to an extra degree, maybe even a little bit of Texas. So, didn't stay here. You don't see them listed in the presidential log as North Carolina because they went to Tennessee. They knew there was no future here because, honestly, there wasn't. Well, today we're going to get to another one of those situations, and this guy doesn't go to Tennessee so much as he just goes somewhere else. And to set the whole thing up, I want to give you some background that you may know about it. And there's another episode we have a few, a little ways back, that said it was called "No, Your Grandmother Was Not a Cherokee Princess." It's sort of touching on some of that because it's related. But I'm going to throw out some facts to you real quick. Now, we all know about how and the tragedy of the Native Americans that were here first, and no matter which way you stand on the situation, no doubt, I don't care which way you think about it, there were a lot here, and now there weren't. And so there's that. Also, without a doubt, and pretty much you can't debate the fact that they either got killed. There's ridiculous amounts of evidence on this. Conflicts, same thing. There's ridiculous amounts of evidence of the death by disease. That's not disputable and not debatable. The only place you could probably or possibly debate is whether or not it should have happened. I tend to err on the side of, being nice to people, but whatever. So, another thing we also see happen, again, it's indisputable, it's undebatable, it just is. Fact is, a fact, is that treaty after treaty after treaty after treaty after treaty, in order to acquire land and trading rights, were made between various groups of settlers in American history, and one by one, nearly everyone was broken when the land that had been ceded or guaranteed or promised to Native Americans, something was found out good about it, and the land was taken. It's a fact. There's no dispute on that. We did them dirty. The United States did them dirty. I wasn't alive then, but the United States did them dirty. That's a fact. One of the probably worst episodes and a whole bunch of bad ones in this breaking of the agreements was something called the Treaty of New Echota. It's 1835, and the Treaty of New Echota is going to, again, 1835 means it's it's a good ways into the United States being, its own countries after the War of 1812, of course, after the Revolution. And the Treaty of New Echota is going to establish terms under which the entire Cherokee Nation ceded its territory in the southeastern United States and agreed to move west to Indian Territory, now which is known now as Oklahoma. Only a handful of Cherokees agreed to it. A bunch of them had been paid to sign it. This treaty, even though most people didn't have any say-so in the agreement or denial, I mean, it wasn't approved by the Cherokee Council. It wasn't approved by Chief John Ross. So basically, you're picking out some people. Here, sign it. I'll give you cash. And then assuming that they speak for all the Cherokee people, and then making a whole policy based on it. I mean, really? Really? People that have no governing power whatsoever are going to represent everything? Really? It's like taking 5 or 10 random dudes from my hometown that I may have never met and having them decide the fate of all the people in North Carolina. What? Okay, well, so this Treaty of New Echota gave the Cherokee ownership of Indian Territory in perpetuity. In other words, forever. The United States promised never, ever, 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 ever to take this land from them. Of course, that treaty melted like a popsicle in a tobacco field in August. The treaty had said that they could stay in Georgia if they adopted certain practices. So there's that. But when some people agreed, people were thinking they would never agree to it. When they did agree, that provision was thrown out too. Oh, we didn't know you were going to agree to that. Oh, never mind. Let's erase it. Just get out. So that provision was literally erased single-handedly by, Andrew Jackson. Even those guys were told to leave for Indian Territory. But they said, but we agreed. Yeah, we didn't think you would. So, yeah, anyway. And then they were force-marched on what you probably now well know as the Trail of Tears all the way to Indian Territory, where they were promised, okay, look, this is it. We will leave you alone forever. I promise. Well, then Indian Territory became Oklahoma Territory, with fewer Native Americans every year, and then it was opened up, and then it became the state of Oklahoma. And Indian Territory, the promised land, became sort of unpromised. Now, that's where we go today to Oklahoma, to this promised land. And I'm going to stop, and I'm going to come back, because there's a name that I need to mention to you. So, there's a guy born in Smithfield in 1845. His father was named Perry. His mother was named Lucinda. That's kind of cool. This guy, his father's name is Perry Renfro. His mother's Lucinda Atkinson. You may have heard of the Atkinson Mill. It's sort of extension, same family. And the guy we're talking about here is a man named William Carey Renfro. So, just to kind of give you a background, this guy was attending school when the American Civil War started. He dropped out at 16, like a bunch of people did, enlisted as a sergeant in the 50th North Carolina Infantry, and Civil War happened, and it was over, and he saw that North Carolina was not going to be the place for him, and he moved out to Arkansas. No, I can't get into his motivations, just going to go as far as I can go with the thing. So, sensing opportunity, he gets to Arkansas, and then he sees Indian Territory. He moved to Norman, Oklahoma Territory in 1889. Now, he opened a livery stable, which basically is horses for rent. He opened up a livery stable, invested in a bank in this frontier that was destined to grow, and invested in real estate in Norman. Now, he was a Democrat. A lot of people were, and and especially the time period. But the Democratic Party is not quite the same as it was. Neither are the Republicans, for that matter. He was an admirer of Grover Cleveland, and he got involved in local politics. Was apparently influential enough in Oklahoma politics that he was able to name the county surrounding the town of Norman after President Cleveland in 1890. He's big enough of a businessman, he can suggest naming the county Cleveland County, and it stuck. So that's good. Enough influence that he's going to serve as a delegate to the Democratic National Committee that nominated this same Grover Cleveland, who will be the first Democrat to be president after the Civil War, as the presidential candidate. Of course, he wins. And so, because and partially in recognition of all the efforts that Mr. Renfro was worked so hard to get, Mr. Cleveland and President Cleveland is going to name Renfro as the third Oklahoma territorial governor. That's kind of cool. We have a governor. Johnston County has a governor. That hasn't happened since Benjamin Williams back in the 1700s. Except for, that was way back then. This other governor is Oklahoma, so we've produced two governors. And one of them is our state. But, hey, whatever. Another neat connection, maybe the closer we can get to that, is Renfro's brother, James. He's the great-grandfather of Governor Jim Hunt. So, it's not the same thing, but maybe. Jim Hunt, if you don't know, governor from 1977 to 85 and 93-2001. Now, it was during Renfro's time as governor of Oklahoma that all of Oklahoma was opened up to settlement, and the area formerly known as Indian Territory was no longer Indian Territory. In fact, Renfro's opening up of Indian Territory, specifically the Cherokee Strip, led to things called land runs. Now, the land run in the Cherokee Strip, which is the top left corner, was the largest land run in world history. It was the fourth land run in Oklahoma. These land runs have been depicted in novels and films like Cimarron with Glenn Ford, Far and Away with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. The land run of 1893 began at noon on September 16, 1893, with 100,000 people lined up in a race to reach a parcel of land first. If they reached the land, it was theirs for free. 6 million acres were literally up for grabs, divided into 40,000 homesteads. It had previously been Cherokee grazing land by the Treaty of New Echota. President Benjamin Harrison ended pretty much that treaty by essentially banning Cherokee from grazing on that land that the treaty said they could graze on. Well, of course, that's okay. Now, 100,000 hopeful landowners lined up before noon on September 16. 40,000 homesteads were available, meaning competition was going to be intense. 60,000 people were going to leave this land run with absolutely nothing, many of them having purchased horses so they get there faster, which means they're going to end up even worse than they were before. So they're there, and they're awaiting the gunshot that would sound at noon, and which will signal the start of the race. Could you just imagine the tension on that line waiting for the gunshot? 100,000 people going for 40,000 homesteads. U.S. infantry troops were there on hand to keep order. If a person did try to get a head start and leave before the gun, he was shot right then and there, dead. Now, these plots were marked by stakes. To claim a homestead, you had to get to the stake first and pull it up. If you did that, you had your claim, it was yours. And as you can imagine, some people did try to camp out before the race, near parcels of land that they wanted. But every day, troops rode around, checking the stakes to prevent their premature removal. Still, it was 6 million acres. I mean, how are you going to monitor all that? That's a little less than 9,400 square miles, an area the size of Vermont. Now, some people who tried to get there sooner than the race, some of them were successful. They got there sooner than the rest of them, and they came to be called, well, Sooners. Fact. Renfro would oversee the final land run, also in 1895, called the Kickapoo Land Run. After 1895, the United States government decided that fast horses do not necessarily make good landlords, land stewards, and they ended the land runs, replacing them with auctions. They instead decided that the ownership of money is a much better determinant of successful land management than ambition. So, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I mention this to you is that William Carey Renfro helped finish the process of the removal of the Native American. And aside from Andrew Jackson, probably did more than any other American. And that, ladies and gentlemen, ended up on a sad note. This is not about being nice. It's not about being friends. It's about telling you Johnston County's history and people that came from it. And, well, it is. Sorry. Sorry to end depressingly. But I will tell you, the next episode coming up promises to be pretty doggone exciting. I mean, I'm really, it's a much better tone. And until then, y'all, I always love listening to you. This makes episode number 50, and it blows my mind. It blows my mind, and it blows my mind that you keep listening. So, appreciate it. This is done out of love. And until next time, later, guys.